Marco Reus. Daniel Malen! Wonderful!
Fantastic from Reus. Jude Bellingham, that's excellent. Jude Bellingham, this is absolutely brilliant. Jude Bellingham! Absolutely magnificent.
Reina, brilliant from the American. Just like that.
Graceful. Sally Hurtdown for Anthony Modeste.
Wolf. Not a bad idea. And there it is for Coco. For Borussia Dortmund. The long wait is over. Unbridled joy in the Rapha derby.
Hey, welcome back to the BVB podcast. My name's Jake, joined as always by Carver, and I want to say screw everything we mentioned last week. I feel like we were down in the dumps, but I'm feeling pretty great now. Carver, how are you doing, man?
Never doubted us for a second, Jake. Don't fact check me on that, everyone. We're starting the podcast now, episode 1 now. Welcome.
Yeah, hey, welcome to the first ever episode of the BVB podcast. Just don't do any scrolling. If another episode starts playing automatically after this one, just throw that in the trash and let's move on. Let's move on and get this Bundesliga title, which is how I'm feeling right now. I got the exciting news Saturday morning that Bayern lost. I remember seeing the, I think it was 3-0 at the time, or I don't know how that game played out. I saw there was 3 goals. Bayern was down, and I was losing it. Texting Carver immediately, and yeah, out of control. And I was immediately excited, and I wasn't like concerned that we were gonna. I mean, I was still, once the game started, I was a little nervous, but I was feeling pretty confident at that point. We did talk about it in the episode last week. Like we've had chances, haven't taken advantage of those chances. We've let it slip away time and time again. And now we got another chance and we capitalized.
Yeah, I did say last week as well that if Bayern were going to drop any points in the coming weeks, it would be away at Mainz. And with that, a win against Frankfurt leapfrogs Dortmund back to the top of the table with destiny in their hands now with just a handful of games to go, which it made me a little bit more nervous just because Dortmund have had a handful of games this season where they've come up short in high pressure situations. So I went back and forth because, I was also feeling good because we usually do really well against Frankfurt at home, even especially in recent times too. I think besides the last 2 games, they haven't scored a goal against us in 4 years. Just teeter-tottering between that and then also kind of failing up to big occasions.
Well, there's the crazy stat that I didn't realize, and Glasner has lost the last 9 games of Dortmund. I don't think he's beat Dortmund once. I don't remember if it was 7 or 9, but he has not beaten Dortmund, which also I feel like I kind of like him as a coach. He seems like a pretty decent dude. And so not that I felt bad, but I was just surprised. But also we've seen this. We talked about it a bit last week. It's a lot of all the Bundesliga pundits have been talking about it too, how Frankfurt's just kind of in this slump. They did the same thing last year. They've kind of fallen off. They're still going in. Are they still in European competition anymore?
No, this was the game that knocked them out of the European. Yep.
Pokal though. They're still in the Pokal, so they have that going for them. But Bundesliga, they've been slipping. And so we were able to take advantage and just blow them out of the water. And this is kind of a game where they to save their Bundesliga season and Champions League hopes, or European hopes. This is a game where they needed to turn things around too, and we just not going to let that happen because we needed it more and we wanted it more, which was showed with the 4 goals. But we'll start with the lineup. Obviously, Kobel in goal, Rierson out at right back again. Hummels and Schlotterbeck are 2 center backs. Guerrero back in at left back. Then we had Bellingham, Chan, and Brandt, along with Malen, Adeyemi, and Haller up top.
And just to touch on Frankfurt's lineup real quick, their defense was delicious looking. The back 3 of their lineup had, players were either out of position or almost as old as Terzic, and I'm not doing a bit with that. So our front 3 was probably licking their lips at their defensive line because, you name it, we had the pace and power, we had the size, and the combinations of just a variety of different players we had up top. So that instilled a little bit more confidence, at least in the attacking aspect for me. And I also want to say before we get into the game itself that just the sensational atmosphere at the Westfalen from these supporters on Saturday. They were absolutely nuts. They knew that the opportunity at hand and what could happen that day. So they really push these players, especially in the second half. And I think Jude even tweeted, if I'm not wrong, it was on Twitter, saying that it was the loudest he's ever heard the stadium too. So all credit to each and every one of those people there that were, chanting in full voice, including, of course, Nathan from the St. Louis fan club, the Borussia STL. He was there. I couldn't imagine the scenes of him. And he was also in the Yellow Wall, which is cool. And the 2 times I've been there, I have not been in the Yellow Wall, actually. But I think in the 3rd time, if I do go again, I'd like to have that chance. But either way, the fans were nuts.
I won't mention the game specifically because I don't think I'm allowed to anymore. But I would say he definitely had a better experience than you did when you went earlier in the season. But yeah, and I mean, we've talked about it so much. And if you're listening, then hopefully Dortmund fans are the best fans. And even, I mean, obviously, like I think it was to another level than what we saw because of the Bayern result. We had the later game. Bayern played earlier, so we knew what we had. All the fans there knew what we had to do, and just like that helped and probably elevated the team so much too. Having them like they're always nuts and crazy, and out of control. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that same energy or a similar energy if Bayern would have won. Like the fans home and away, they're always just insane and ridiculous, but to the point of Bayern losing, that extra motivation, extra craziness. I'm sure. Hopefully, we're gonna try to get Nathan on here, but hopefully we'll get his experience firsthand here pretty soon. In the next couple weeks, we'll be able to get him on. Hoping. But yeah, just out of control. That's all. I'm just out of control.
Yes, let's talk about this first half. A few minutes in, Hummels already asserting his dominance in that back line, completely shutting down Muani. One of the best strikers in the league. Again, Hummels really stepping up in these past few weeks, given how we didn't know what our backline was going to look like. Even today, I kind of went over my head for a second just because I guess I was thinking about it earlier and I forgot to say it. But Schlotterbeck starting? Who knew that he was even going to be healthy enough to be in the squad? I had no idea. I mean, we kept hearing at least till May. I really hope we weren't pushing him, which it looks like we were because he came off early. But Sule coming on again right after him and as a replacement, it's like, what is going on? But
wasn't it just last week we were talking about who was going to be our center backs?
Yeah, exactly. No, literally.
And again, I talked about Mats Hummels and just his age, and I didn't mean it in a bad way. Like I back him all the way, but like, yeah, great performance from him. Got the goal, and then just the surprise of Schlotterbeck being in there. And Sule, where I don't know where that came from because we thought it was going to be Koulibaly and maybe Chan, but we'll take it.
So I mean, Hummels was tested early, shut down Muani. Muani had 0 successful dribbles this game, 0 crosses, 0 chances created, lost 8 of his duels, and the only shot he had was actually blocked. I think it might have been by Hummels as well. So it was great to kind of get some nerves calm down early, especially with our defense. Sometimes at home we could be like so amped up and the crowd's trying to rob behind the players and then we slip up and score or concede a goal early. So thankfully that wasn't the case. About 20 minutes in maybe, get our first goal. It was a slick team goal from Dortmund. It was nice build up. Brandt just enough time for a touch and a dish off to Jude as Frankfurt collapsed on him and Haller, leaving space for Jude to have a one-on-one on top of the box. Silky smooth turn, receiving the ball, and has a great finish at the bottom corner of the net too. So we're up 1-0 and 20 minutes in.
That turn was
hot.
It was hot. I was gonna say spicy. Like it wasn't the it's not like he turned and megged a dude, but it was just so clean and so good and opened up so much space. Like you knew there was no way he was gonna miss it because nobody was in front of him. And I think even on the replay you see the defender just standing there, like looking back, like just ready to watch it go in. It was so good. And that even the build up too, was it Adeyemi to Brandt? Just kind of like that classic like Dortmund, like we like to see. Nice passing.
Getting a lot of players involved. And we've talked about it again at these past few months. And I know we definitely mentioned it last summer, but obviously Jude kept saying how much he wants to improve as a box-to-box midfielder this season ongoing. And what do you think? I mean, so far, I think he's definitely fulfilling that role. He had dips in form, of course, everyone does, especially at that age. But I mean, you're seeing just like with the goal from Saturday, I mean, the turn, the finish from on top of the box. I mean, that's not an easy finish, especially for someone who's not an attacker. I mean, he's been terrific filling that role.
I know there's been a lot of discussion lately about his attitude. And I know we've talked about it a little bit, especially the Chan thing. And because it is, like, I notice it here and there, and like body language is the thing, and you can notice it on the pitch. That's the only, I was glad he got this goal, obviously. But I like just those moments and those like that frustration is like what concerns me. Not necessarily about him as a player, because there's still so much, like, he's so young. But it just concerns me as far as like his level of like satisfaction and happiness like at the club, because obviously I want him to stay, right? And those signs of frustration is what worries me. I don't know where you stand on it or how you feel. Like, I don't like seeing it on the pitch, obviously. Like, I don't, if he's a guy who just kind of has this attitude and thinks he's better than everyone else, like, I don't want that in there. Like, I feel like he's a better person than that, but then you see those moments of frustration on the pitch. Just want to get your thoughts and takes on that, if that's something you're worried about or anything.
I mean, just like you mentioned, he is young, so sometimes he may just say some stuff that may be a little immature on or off the pitch. But what I guess concerns me at times is just what he does on the field when it's just super unnecessary. So, like, even in this Frankfurt game, whenever he put his arm around Lenz, and I mean, he shoved Bellingham off, and it's like, I mean, he kind of initiated that, which of course we love, like the players who have that dog in them, and you know, try to not initiate people to like fight you or anything like that, but just keeping that grit and aggression on the field. But yeah, just sometimes where it's like you just, you know, getting himself booked unnecessarily. But I think that's something that he can work those out of his game.
Yeah, I mean, the aggression towards other players, like other teams, doesn't bother me as much. But when you see the frustration, like not getting a pass or like like a missed, I don't know, just frustration with fellow Dortmund players is what I'm like, man, come on. Like, just come on. And I get that it's the end of the season, things are tense, and he kind of just has these standards. And I just hope that's not I don't know. I just hope it's not a detriment.
I get what you're saying. Yeah. The only exception I'll give is for Schultz. We're always fine with yelling at him, but didn't take long for us to score a second either. Got 2 goals in just a matter of a little less than a half hour. It's the second goal was exactly what we always talk about with our front three: a long ball deep into their half from Kobel. Haller was able to get a touch from it, drawing defenders near him, creating space and also some chaos for the defense. And that leaves room for Malen and Adeyemi to run in behind, which is what we always talk about. You know, those two need a player like that as a central forward between them. And in out of nowhere comes Adeyemi with that jump. I mean, holy shit. And I know, like, we talked about his jumping and leaping ability before, but like, he continues to really put it on display. I don't know if we're just maybe not seeing him get those opportunities that much, but man, keep working those in, and we're never losing an aerial goal.
Put him on corners. I want him like 20, 25 yards out, and then just let him sprint and he's the fastest player in the Bundesliga. And I think he's got the most hops when it comes to, he probably can't jump higher than everybody as far as like height off the ground, but for how small he is,
his ass was on, like, I forget whose defender it was. I don't know if it was Lentz. It might have been like Tuta's face, but man,
I mean, if you're running
5'9",
if you're running 60 miles an hour and you jump, you're gonna fly, man. And so fastest sprinter in the Bundesliga, highest hops, best gainers, best backflips,
he's
best
a pure
celebrations,
athlete.
probably.
Pure athlete.
That ball did not touch the ground until Malen, who also like, it was on the half volley, but it was like straight out from Kobel. Haller got the head on it. So our tallest dude to the guy who can jump tallest in the air when he's jumping, to Malen to finish it, who Malen is just out of control right now.
Hot. And he is out of control. He needs to stop.
He needs to calm down.
Even before his second goal, that's 5-5 now for the Dutchman. And despite all the criticism from the fan base, definitely us included, me especially, for his performances, I mean, he kept his head down. He never complained. He worked hard, and now he's finally getting rewarded. So I am here for it. And I've said this a million times. I'm always happy to be proven wrong when I criticize Dortmund or players specifically in Dortmund, man. let me be wrong. I don't care.
That's the best thing. And that's just how everybody should be. Like if you're a fan of a club, you criticize, cool, but you better accept it when it happens. Like you can't be a hater. Like, yeah, I don't know. I'm just thinking of stupid Twitter people. I haven't complained about stupid Twitter people in a long time.
You haven't? Yeah, I actually thought about that.
It used to be a weekly segment almost. Like maybe we were talking before we started recording that Carver's been handling a little more of the social media lately. Yeah. Maybe that's why I'm just not seeing it as much, trying to avoid it. But I constantly think back anytime we talk about Mullen to the 1860 game and then how frustrated we were after that. But we have a lot more memories to wash that away. I'm happy to take it. Happy to see Mullen perform week after week, and especially in this game. Yeah. Love it.
So we go up 2-0, and just after we get that 2-goal cushion, I think we get a little complacent. And right around that same time, Schlotterbeck is coming off as a precaution, unfortunately. He did not look happy at all when he came off, but I imagine Terzic seemed on making it clear that we're playing it safe, because I don't think really many people, again, knew that he was even going to be in the squad to begin with, let alone starting. So I don't think it was really a concussion protocol, because I know he got hit in the head, but I think that was more of just like a muscular thing. And that's fine if Sule is ready to go, because I think he's kind of in the same position. But
that was the weird thing to me. And I get we went 2 goals up, but I mean, you can't count on that. You can't bank on that. So if you're going to, just me being concerned, like if like a dude is ready to play like if you're starting him, you can almost expect him to go like 60 minutes, right? Like, I don't think you're not starting him if you're only going to give him 30 minutes, 20 minutes. Like it doesn't make any sense. So that's where, like, when he was being subbed off, I was like, this seems so weird. I get precautionary, but I'm like, I don't know. I was like, why not start Sule if he can go longer? Because then the concern for me was, well, if Sule goes down, then what? Like that's where I was concerned. So it seemed a little odd, but I mean, it worked out. You can't complain anymore. But I was very concerned in that moment for the rest of the match.
Yeah. So Sule comes on. He slots on the left-hand side, so we can handle that pace a little bit better on that side, and obviously his athletic ability as well, so he can try to slot himself in there. But as he tried to catch himself up to the speed of the game, we just continued to be a little bit complacent, a bit shaky in defense for like 15 minutes, dropped a bit too deep and played casual in our mid block, which allowed them to play more aggressive and open in their midfield. So I was a little nervous, because it's the exact same situation against Stuttgart, right? 2 goals up, you're dominating the game, you let them come to you, even whenever it's 10v11, and they can get right back into the game. And Frankfurt obviously has a lot more quality in their squad, so you're expecting them to maybe come back and make it a game again. So those 15 minutes, those are like the only 15 minutes, 20 at most, but 15 minutes or so of just them starting to grow back into the game again, create some chances. They had 3 chances in like 5 minutes, and thankfully they didn't get a result out of that. So
I was going to throw out this stat earlier when we were talking about Hummels, but just I was thinking in that span too, being able to hang on and hold on. Just want to shout out Hummels' 11 recoveries. Not only did he have a goal, which we're about to get into, but 11 recoveries. 34-year-old Maximilian, I love you. Just don't want anyone pulling clips from last week where I wasn't talking shit, but if you pulled the audio and cut it up, it would have sounded like I was talking shit.
Yeah.
But 11 recoveries, great performance by him, especially when we're like concerned that Sule. What if Sule goes down? I don't know. But also, I pulled up the highlights while we were talking. I'm like backtracking a little bit. No, I'm backtracking twice. I apologize. We're about to move on forward. But when I went to the YouTube highlights, I stopped on Adeyemi on that header, which we were talking about. And you're right. His butt is literally higher than the dude's head. Mm-hmm. It's insane. Fake. It looks fake.
It does look fake.
But go to the highlights, pause it at his highest point, and try to make sense of it.
It's wild. You can't make sense of it.
He can probably dunk. I think he can
probably. Dunk. I know Nate Robinson in the NBA was 5'9". He could dunk. But anyway, regardless, right before half. It's
what happens when. See, okay, we got it. This is last week when we were depressed and sad. It was just sad rants. So I'm gonna enjoy it. I'm gonna laugh all I can. Okay, I'm enjoying it.
Well, it's gonna get even better because we score another goal, third right before half. Calms the nerves a bit. Rafa Guerrero sending it across, and Hummels. I was saying before that it didn't even almost look like a header as much as just kind of hit his face, and but it was still a decent shot at the end of the day, and goes in the top left corner. And now you're up 3-0 right before half. Second half came out with a lot more confidence, showed more grit. Again, the fans really pushing the players to keep going, which I think was an immense for them. And Frankfurt, on top of that, just looked pretty dead too. So I'm not going to say it was cruising in the second half by any means, but it was pretty close to it. And it was surprising to see a team that actually looked like they wanted to win the title. Like, wow, where was this last week?
Yeah, there's definitely a switch, and it was probably the halftime talk from Terzic. Maybe he changed it up a little bit, but I'm sure he went in, like, even though being 3 goals up, I'm sure he went in and be like, you remember how you felt last week? Like, better not do that again. Because it was just different than what we saw last week, obviously. But it was different. And we were playing like a team who wanted to score a few more, not just sit back and settle. Like they kept pushing, they kept pressing, they kept attacking. Just like the confidence you saw, knowing that they're down, it's like, okay, like one more to really knock him out. Just for the security. And go ahead. And I think also like showing Bayern too, you know what I mean? Like put on a full on 90-minute performance, which is great.
Manuel tweeted when we scored our third, he's like, that should be enough, right? And I retweeted and I was like, absolutely not. No, we do not let up at 3-0 down, unfortunately. It sucks that you got to say, but in moments like these, no, you do not let up at all. Especially, again, if you're wanting to contend for the title. And yeah, just like you mentioned, the players having a lot of grit. I forget which minute it was, but Brandt one possession back with a slide tackle and just like, again, just getting his body in there. And it's like, this team wants it finally. And I was not expecting last week, especially because, you know, if Bayern doesn't lose against Mainz, even if you win against Frankfurt, you're still points behind. So, I mean, credit to the team for coming out and actually still laying on the gas and get a 4th goal. Another great goal from Malen. Now that's 6 in his last 5 games. Malen is just red hot. And I love that front three of Adeyemi, Malen, and Brandt. Or excuse me, Adeyemi, Haller, and Malen. I don't know why I said Brandt. But again, with just the pace and the power and the combination of all 3 of them, it's really fun to watch, especially with Malen with just having such confidence in himself at the moment. It's really fun. Yeah.
And that's such a big thing with Malen too. Like you could see how not confident he was. Is that the unconfident? I don't know the word.
Unconfident.
You could just see his like confidence lacking in the before. You know what I mean? Like before, first half of the season, you could just see it because like he just looked down. So it's great to see him. And like you said, the pace. Like we have this interesting dynamic, I think, with these 2 small, speedy wingers who can just run all over the place, and then the big figure up top with Aller, just kind of holding it down and taking them to the space, and then these guys can run past anybody. And then on Brandt too, I know I probably talked a lot in the off season. I think we saw a lot of it maybe towards the end of last season, but he's often been criticized for like his aggressiveness. And so not only this season, especially this game, like you said with the slide tackle, like we saw that aggressiveness, but also like his control and his flow with the ball, like his passing and everything
too. I remember the joke was that he would do some sort of like insane roulette and then his very next step fall on his face. Like that was like a consistent thing. And now that's pretty much completely out of his game. I think I've seen Brandt fall like maybe once in the last several months, which I know at the time was like a low bar, but just like picking up the small things. I mean, he's really turned his game completely around in virtually every metric that you can try to analyze.
I was going to point out ground duels. He won 6 out of 13, 46%, but still, like, I like to see that aggression. I like to see him dueling for the ball.
One of them winning possession back.
Yeah. And then clearances.
In a dangerous area, too.
Recoveries. He had 5 recoveries, too. So, like, just seeing him getting in the thick of it is always good. And he got the assist, on the first goal tonight. So to see him, like, involved in the scoring opportunities and moments, great.
Yeah.
The
fact that you can have that again, all of that quality, and it doesn't stop there either. I mean, Schlotterbeck, having him back is huge. That partnership of him and Sule is going to be so hot for these next few years. And just the mid block of like Bellingham and Chan. They're both great at counter pressing too, and you could throw Brandt in that mix. I think we're really starting to look at like an actual starting 11 here, barring what we're going to do with Guerrero, I guess. And even then, if like a game's not going your way for whatever reason, or even if you want to tack on another goal and get some confidence going, you have a player like Royce on the bench who's a game changer, which he didn't do too much this game, but just having that option on the bench is huge, especially these next few weeks, because we're going to need every single person to pull their weight.
Yeah. So I know you sent me an article like right before you started recording, and I did not look at it. I did not read it. Was there anything from that in like the overall like picture of this game? Because we talked through the goals. Anything else that really stuck out to you besides looking great?
Yeah. Well, of course, it wasn't a perfect game either. It's not even like this was one of our best games this season. I think it was just with the fans, giving this team just such a massive boost, and the opportunities at hand with the chemistry between the players, the momentum too from the first 2 goals, Frankfurt not being up for it. So there's a lot of different like factors for this kind of a game, and I don't think it was flawless by any means. Again, I think we let them come back into the game when we were 2 goals up. There was still some space, for them to work into the center as well. But Terzic corrects his mistakes, at least, I don't want to say like all the time, but most of the time he's open to these new ideas, and he's wanting to get things right because he lives and breathes for this club. So I'm glad we were able to obviously get the win. It's huge. That's a club record now of 9 straight wins at home. Just a massive result, capitalizing on Bayern slipping up. It's usually the other way around. When they slip up, we slip up too, and then the table just kind of sits the same. So this is huge. This is huge, everyone. The fact that it is April 24th right now as we're recording, and we are, and just for the next few days even too, we're in first place going into the first week of May. I've been a supporter for a little over 10 years now, and we haven't won the league in that time, but haven't even had like a sniff like this in so long. Again, under Favre in his first season, I think we were behind 2, maybe 3 points come April, but now we're on top, and it's only 5 games to go. It's wild.
You might not know the exact, and I don't know it either, so I'm just genuinely asking. But I think like a difference here is like last year Bayern had won it like a few weeks out, right? Like the spread was so far, like there was no chance. I think it was maybe 3 weeks, like they had officially claimed the title.
Yeah,
like
something like that. It definitely was trend setting whenever we again lost to Bayern pretty bad in the spring.
Like I don't know if there's been in recent years or over the last 10 years, I don't have all these in front of me and I should have looked it up. But as far as an actual close title race, and I think that there is a title race going up into the last few weeks, like only helps us because it puts more pressure on Bayern. It gives us this confidence, especially with how we're playing. Like it gives us something to strive for because it's in our hands. It's literally in our hands. It's not like, oh, that'd be nice, or you know what I mean? Like it's right there. And I think that just like to give these guys like that, they like the fact that they can actually see it in front of them. You know what I mean?
Yep.
We'll give them so much more confidence.
And last week I even said the only way we get the title is if like Bayern physically hand it to us, what you just said. And this week was kind of that moment of them again slipping up. Now we just have to actually hold on to it and just walk across the line. I mean, we are right fucking there. And these next 5 games, not a single one is easy, unfortunately. All of them very, very tough. But this 5-game stretch is also very, very achievable too. I think the 2 away games are going to decide it, in my opinion. I mean, at home we can beat anyone on our day, especially a team in the Bundesliga. But our 2 away games are going to be tough. I know this weekend we have Bochum coming up. It's going to be obviously a local rival, but they have lost. They lost their last game 5-1, and then I think they haven't won in a handful of games now, if I'm not wrong. I'm thinking off the top of my head.
Just had it pulled off. They lost to Wolfsburg
5-1. Yeah.
Before that, they drew Union. They lost to Stuttgart, and then they tied Frankfurt, and that was their last 4. They beat Leipzig a while back, but
yeah. So still winless in their last handful of games, and they're struggling to pick up some form too. So this could be another opportunity to, hit a team while they're stumbling, and of course when we're back in form too. I mean, you have a lot of options right now. It looks like everyone should be good to go this next weekend. Given, maybe Schlotterbeck is we're going to be cautious with him again, but Sule looked fine, so our back four looks good to go.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he only played like 25 minutes and he started this game, as I said, like if he started, you would expect him to play 60. So I would expect we could get 60 out of him, at least like minimum for the game this weekend. It is going to be tough. It's a derby in Bochum, like we lost at Bochum last year. And I think it was towards the end of the season, and it was not pretty.
Yeah.
So like that's the concern, us being in our heads a little bit. But also I feel like the team has a lot of confidence, which gives me a lot of confidence. And I feel like coming off this performance, we're going to go in hungry. We're going to go in, like I said, with the title in our sights and in our hands, and just want to keep smashing it.
I think we have leadership back too, which is a pretty cheesy segue to what Zaheen was asking us earlier, or asking us on Twitter earlier, but it's talking about leadership in the squad. But I mean, again, Schlotterbeck is still going to be a question mark, but he is obviously a leadership in the back. Hummels brings that back too. We were wondering if he was going to be good to go, but that was just a slight knock that he picked up in Stuttgart. So thankfully, he's good to go. I think Chan he's a proven winner. He's won multiple titles with Juventus and other clubs too. So he knows how to win. I'm thinking we have the quality to do it at the moment. I mean, pray to God that nothing happens this weekend, but we don't have other competitions to worry about either. So it's not like, we're juggling three things at once.
Bayern doesn't have any other competitions to worry about either, which is an unfortunate thing. And I gave the call out last week. Not that I expected them to really win, but I was hopeful that would just drain a bit more energy. But anyways,
excuse me. And they also have a pretty easy game this weekend too. They have Hertha at home. I feel like they're going to rip them apart, given just they got demolished against Mainz. But Bayern still are right now. They're winless in their last four. They've lost two of their last four as well. And going to Bremen the following week is going to be tough for them. So I think there's an opportunity to maybe get 2 more points. But other than that, we just have to focus on ourselves. It should be 5 wins. Easy. Simple. Not simple, but easy enough to get 5 wins.
Is Tuchel, does he still love Dortmund? And is this a Tuchel sabotage?
I've seen multiple people say that online, and no comment. Am I right?
When he first went, I was like, I hate that guy. I hate him so much. But now I'm like, nope. Yeah. I love him. I actually love him. And he loves Dortmund still.
Yeah, they're in complete disarray. The whole supporter base looks like they want Oliver Kahn out too. So it'll be interesting to see what they do this summer. I don't know people are already saying that if Tuchel doesn't start off the next fall good at all, he might be out the door too. So we'll see.
But okay, this weekend, Friday afternoon game, Dortmund at Bochum, as we said, kickoff 2:30 Eastern time. Did you have any predictions?
I do. I think we're going to win this one, and I think we're going to get a 3-1 win.
I was also going to say 3-1. Who scores?
Haller, Adeyemi, Brandt.
All right, I was going to say Brandt. Malen again.
And I hope Malen does, but I don't know. For some reason, I'm just thinking this is like when he doesn't score.
And I'll throw Royce in there. I feel like Royce is going to come back.
That'd be cool.
Also, I forget, and this is my fault. I probably don't pay attention as much as I should. I've said that multiple times. That's why I have Carver here. Is Royce? I feel like is he coming back from an injury? Right? Yeah, a little bit.
But he's also just been kind of poo-poo in the last month as well. I think just since we've really started to have these conversations about how we're looking to move forward with him, I think the board is really expecting a lot more from him, given how much he's asking for at the moment. So I think it's just kind of almost like a power struggle, for lack of a better term, and just him kind of trying to find his role within this team. Because, again, we have a lot of quality, man, especially this summer when we have some more cash to spend. So I hope Royce, has something to prove here. And of course, he does have something to prove with lifting the Meisterschale for the first time. So hopefully that's him giving him the motivation to be a leader himself and be a pinnacle point in the squad for these last few games. I'm here for it. I hope he does.
Yeah, it has been a weird season for him because I feel like he's had a lot of illnesses If it wasn't an injury, like he was out sick a while, which I don't know what's in the air in Dortmund, but I feel like we've had a lot of like random illnesses, and Royce has been on that on a few occasions, which obviously doesn't help. And if they're trying to figure out this contract negotiation, right? Like maybe an extension and whatnot. And then he hasn't been performing, or he hasn't been playing. And then it's harder to perform because he's got a lot on his mind and he's always trying to come back from something. I wouldn't be surprised if he's kind of in his head. There was an interesting, I don't know if it was on the Gegenpressing pod or what, or if it was just on like an ESPN broadcast or whatever. But the talk about comparing, like it was shortly after the Bayern Dortmund game, and like comparing Royce to Muller. Like you kind of put them like the talisman of their team. And then when you look at the dynamic as far as like Royce has been at Dortmund forever, and those like last 10 years he hasn't won, but Muller is just like a winner. You know what I mean? Because he just wins year after year. And it's like this, like I love Royce so much, but there is this difference between like someone who wins constantly, and not to say like I'm thinking less of Royce, but there is this mental aspect to it too, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know where I'm going with this, other than I want Royce to win the win.
It's just a case of one of those players who wants, do they choose to go for individual glory or making themselves a legend at their club, and just like an icon. And Royce has definitely sealed that at this club, but unfortunately, the League Cup at least has not followed, but hopefully that changes soon. And it doesn't mean he hasn't won things, of course he's like won a handful of Pokals and stuff, and unfortunate that he got close to the Champions League and that didn't pull off. But either way, I mean, here's an opportunity to change that literally 1 month and we will know. So I hope that's obviously it is going through his head, and maybe we can change that.
Just add a little gold shield to the goat emoji. That's what we need. All right. I mean, I was going to ask you about Guerrero a little bit. I know we've talked about Guerrero a lot, and I'm not going to go off on a tangent like I've done other times. But what do you expect this summer now? Because I think it's shifted and it's changed over the last few match weeks to where we saw him shift in the midfield, and then we had these discussions about, maybe we'll keep him on and as this midfield option. But now, like we've seen him go back to that left back position, and Rierson back out on the right. Wolf hasn't been playing as much, and I'm interested in your thoughts, because we almost saw this like Guerrero Rapha renaissance, right? In these like few matches where he played in the midfield, got a goal, I think, and a couple assists, maybe more in that short time period, and now he's back at left back. And maybe that's because like our midfielder's a little healthier now, like Brandt's back, which is part of that, I feel. And so what does that mean for Guerrero playing at left back again?
Playing at left back, I don't think it should happen unless we absolutely need a left back. Whether or not he should be at this club still come August, whether or not he stays, I've been saying for a while, we still need to address the fullback issue. I mean, whether or not we keep Guerrero, we need another left back. And whether that's Benzabaini, it looks like that's going to be the case. We also need another one on top of that, because if Benzabaini picks up a knock, we're in the exact same situation that we are right now. So, same as always. If Guerrero stays, great. I think you should think about not what he can't do, but what he can bring to this team, which is definitely a lot more than people give him credit for. Either way, we need at least another fullback. I would say 2, right back and a left back this summer. More defensively minded as well. Yeah.
All right. I think that's all my transfer questions I had for now. I usually don't like talking transfers, but the Guerrero one is, I don't know, it's been you've heard my Guerrero thoughts before.
Yeah.
And now it's just, we like I said, the midfield thing seemed to be an answer. And now that's like shifted back. So I don't know. Just things to think about. But besides that, I think that's it for this episode. We appreciate you guys hanging out and listening. I didn't look up. I looked up reviews earlier.
We got some more.
Did we? Do you have them ready to go? Because I don't.
I do not have them ready to go. I just saw that we have a few more. And I do want to just to backtrack. It's not like Guerrero still isn't contributing in recent weeks. He's still getting assists. I mean, he got an assist in the Frankfurt game too, and he's been pushed up. I think we're just maybe trying to tweak the system. I saw like Rierson as part of a back 3 now instead of Chan as a back 3, and that gives not only a chance for Guerrero to get up higher up the field in that sort of position that we talk about, but also Chan as like a distributing number 6 and someone we could, knock off of or pass off of in the center. So I mean, Guerrero is still contributing, even though, the midfield honeymoon, I guess, is maybe in the question. I don't know. Either way, yeah, we got some reviews to answer your question.
This one comes from BB6_John. Says, I really like the American perspective as a Dortmund fan. Keep up the great work. Nice and simple. I appreciate it. And just to the point of the American perspective, like me being a Dortmund fan, as a newer Dortmund fan over the last few years, just wanted more Dortmund, and Carver is my Dortmund friend, which was like, hey man, you want to start this podcast? So we hope that we can be that for you guys, just another outlet to consume Dortmund content, and especially it being a German team, it's not always the easiest, and Bundesliga probably doesn't get as much love as it deserves. There are some great like Bundesliga podcasts, and even other, I'm not saying there's not Dortmund podcasts available, but I don't know. I like talking Dortmund, and we've figured other people might like talking Dortmund too, and that's kind of why we're doing this. So
I just want to say also that I'm still very much a new fan myself. I mean, of course, it's been like 10 years, but I mean, the club is over 100 years old, and we've definitely had a lot more success since or before Klopp, and that's usually around the time that I hopped on. So, still a very new fan myself. I'm just very invested because I love the team.
But with that said, we appreciate you guys listening.
Yeah.
And if you want to be so kind to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, you can leave a little note, and if we see that, I will shout you out. If you listen on Spotify, as we mentioned before, you can leave a review, and then maybe if you like send us a nice note on Instagram, we can shout you out because we're very happy to do so, because we really appreciate you guys listening, and so we want to show you guys some love too. And the last couple of weeks we've been slacking a little bit with Twitter questions, but we're really active on Twitter, and that's a way for you to contribute to the episode as well. So make sure you follow us Twitter and Instagram at the BVBpod. And the link to everything is in the description of this episode. And yeah, Dortmund plays on Friday, so we'll be back next week to talk about that. And we'll see you guys later.